Hey everybody, the Skeet
I'm Mosh and Mikey.
Rock and Roll Roundtable.
As always, proudly presented by Moshman Media.
This week, 70s bands still kicking.
70s bands still kicking. So
70s
they've
bands still kicking.
been in the as long as I've been alive, almost some of these bands. And it's like we were talking about this subject when we were thinking about doing shows, and it's like, the resurgence in some of these bands that are from the 70s. And some of them are down to like one member or no members, but they're still out there playing their music, and they've all been in the band at some point or another. It's not like the band quit and then somebody stole their name and started covering their music. So a lot of people get pissy about that because, well, I remember over the summer we went to see Kansas, and I think there might be one member left that was in the band for quite a while when everybody else was, but not a founding member in there, I don't think. And I'm pretty sure 38 Special was the same deal. They
Yeah.
had a bunch of guys that had joined up at some point and were out touring. And that's the big 70s band thing right now is tours.
Okay.
They're going out and playing these small to mid places, these venues, these arenas. With Kansas, they had a pretty good tour this year. We went and saw in 38 Special. America did they did a tour this year that was
Yeah.
well received. I mean, they're not heavy at all. They're the horse with no name, that, but it's like, okay, your 70s, you're still out there. Now, like with REO Speedwagon, there's health issues with some of the guys. Kevin Cronin said, well, I still want to go out and tour. So he took the moniker, basically Kevin Cronin he always says of REO Speedwagon,
Yeah.
as his touring name. And he sings all the REOs. Why can't he? He's the singer. He wrote probably half the song or most of
Yeah.
the songs. Who knows? But he didn't want to put it as REO Speedwagon because a lot of it, he used his own band. He's just
Yeah.
doing his thing. Kind of like if John Fogerty does CCR music.
Yeah.
It's not CCR.
No.
But it's also not just John Fogerty doing John Fogerty music. He's doing Creedence stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I'm proud of somewhat. I'm on the bubble here. I'm kind of proud of these guys that they still go out and do what they love, and they're getting to play, and they're bringing back some of the music. In one regard, Kansas, I had never seen before. Had never
Exactly.
seen them live, and I'd listened to them when I was, 8 years old, and I'd loved a lot of their music. I had never ended up getting to see Kansas live. I felt a little bit robbed because there wasn't anybody I knew. I mean, the singer was different, the violinist was different, the guitar players
Yeah.
were different than I remember. But the music still sounded good. And it's like, is it a tribute band? Is it a cover band? Or do you have to give them props that it's actually Kansas? That's a debate that people have. And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people won't go see the 70s bands that are still kicking. And other people say, well, they're not putting any new music out. Who cares? But who cares? They have enough. Christ, 38 Special's whole set was songs that were hits that I knew. Kansas, they had a lot of oddball stuff, but I listened to as a young guy. But they were kind of playing more what they wanted to play. They had their hits, but they played a lot of stuff they wanted to play. You go out and see Styx playing now. They're playing all their hits, man. And
Yeah.
there's what? Maybe one guy, I think, left in Styx. Two, Tommy and JT, right? Or
I
JY,
think
whatever
so.
his name is. Because I know the drummer, original drummer died. I think Dennis Young's not been in the band for a long time.
No, no.
So you got guys like Sticks that go out. And if I see Tommy Shaw or JY up there, I'm seeing Sticks. I don't give a shit if it's
Yeah,
not Dennis DeYoung because those guys were there from the beginning. Now, REO Speedwagon, same way. I don't remember REO Speedwagon without Kevin Cronin. If he wasn't the original singer, I don't know who was. So it's always been Kevin fronting that band for me to
yeah,
be there and see them. Same way with like an Aerosmith, that maybe they might be done now, but they're doing shows here and there. They're still releasing a song here and there. I've seen, but you see Joe Perry or Steven Tyler. I know the other two guys' names, but I wouldn't care because the two main ones are there. If one of those was there, if it was just Steven Tyler with a backing band singing Aerosmith, would it be Aerosmith? That's the tricky part. It's because if they die, it's one thing. But if you're out using the name, like we had the splits of bands that started, say, late 70s, like Great White, okay? They had Jack Russell's Great White and they had Great White. So they had Jack Russell was out with a backing band, basically,
yeah.
doing Great White. And then you had Great White with a different singer, but it was kind of like they both deserved to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's weird. It was like Queensryche does the same thing, but they're not quite 70s. They're early
No, they're
80s.
not. No, I wouldn't
But
consider them 70s. I mean, I was
yeah,
thinking more along the lines of uh what Jeff Lynne from ELO is
yeah.
still out there touring. The guy from the Guess Who is still out touring.
Bachman
Uh
Turner Overdrive is still
so you know what
touring.
I'm saying? Blue Oyster Cult, are they still fucking doing shit?
Yeah, they just had a new album like last year, year
So
before. So they
I,
actually had new
I
music
mean, they're
too.
actually doing. They're still, I'm sure they've lost some guys over time,
Yeah,
and I, you have to come to the realization. Yes, it is not X band. Okay, so it's not going to be all the members. It's not even going to be half the fucking members because they've lost so many people.
yeah,
So I mean, I'm kind of like you. If you want to be a fucking snobbish purist and say, okay, there's not even one single person in the band, or I mean, with Quiet Riot, which was not. I
yeah.
mean, they're not really a '70s band, but they kind of fell into the end of the '70s.
I think they maybe started in the 70s, but yeah.
And they've lost so many members, and now Rudy Sarzo is touring with them, so he was originally in the band, so it makes it legitimate. But really, the bass player is the only guy left now. It's cool to see him, but that you know what I'm saying. The purists are gonna be turning their noses up. So do
Yeah, and it's
you?
hard, but yeah, it's hard not to though. I mean, I think in
Yes.
my opinion, there has to be a certain member of the band still in it. With Sarzo, great. Sarzo's a recognizable guy. I get that. But what's I mean, the bass player is not what defines the band.
Well,
So it's kind of hard to.
okay, hold on. Uh, Geddy Lee is the bass player for Rush.
Yes.
Okay, so he's the lead singer and the bass player. So he's
Hmm.
pretty integral to fucking the Rush sound,
Yes.
and they are getting ready to go back out and tour. So there's a '70s band that's still kicking,
But
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 that has got a lot of
if
controversy
it
right now.
I don't know that it should be getting a lot of controversy. I think number one, there was a person that died. It's not like
Yes,
they quit and retired.
yes,
But number two, they were a trio, and two out of the three are still there. So it's just like Neil passing away is you could it could even if they would have fired Neil for some god that would never happen. But if they would have, they would still have the right to me to tour as Rush, and I would still accept them as Rush, even though Neil Peart to me was like an iconic part of it.
yes.
And to be honest, Alex Lifeson, who's underrated, but if you had Neil and Getty, would you even notice if it wasn't Alex? Some people wouldn't because it was always kind of Getty and Neil that got the attention, which is strange
Well, and it's wrong.
based in
It's
the drum.
wrong because
It
he
is
was,
wrong.
he's a very important part of that fucking dynamic. All three of them. So
Yeah. Well,
you,
look how long Kiss went out with half of the band.
yeah,
And nobody blinked an eye that it wasn't Peter and Ace for what, since 1980, 82, whatever.
yeah,
So they went, they had maybe 9, 10 years as the original lineup, and then they did 40 more with
yeah.
replacement Kulick or Eric Carr back on the drums, or whatever they had, and nobody seemed to say anything about that. So I think the problem that the Rush people are having, not only is Neil he's not replaceable. You're not going to get the exact same, even if she plays that drums note for note, it's still not Neil. He's going to have
Yeah,
some little quirk he does to where it set him apart.
yeah.
But this is just something I heard recently too. A lot of people from the Rush people are complaining because she was not a Rush fan, self-admittedly not a Rush fan, and that she's going to play drums for him. That would irritate me. And if that's true, because you never know the social media thing. But that was supposedly a big talking point of the Rush people, was that she didn't even like Rush when they were, and now she's going to be playing drums for them. That would take away stuff.
Was she
That would
fucking
bother
alive?
me.
Was she alive when Rush was touring? Probably
Yeah.
fucking not.
Well, she's 42. She was alive.
Well, but
I mean,
I,
it's just she was from Germany, man. It's like maybe that she was in a whole different country of way they do things over
she
there.
was fucking listening to Hast and fucking Ramstein and all that shit.
I doubt that. But why when you're talking about that, you're talking about Germany. Scorpions are still, but I will tell you this much: the last video I saw was like a rehearsal video. They were playing in a music hall somewhere, just rehearsing. Boy, Klaus is struggling. I
Well,
mean, I think it's great that these guys want to keep going, and the music wise, they're still kicking. But I don't know that you could replace Klaus and get away with it. It's just some people I think you can replace and move on. Some it's tough, man. I
yeah,
mean, Kansas for me and Styx and those guys. That's a collective. That's a collective group of musicians making this music. I never really picked and choose them out, but Tommy Shaw is recognizable. It's nice to have a recognizable person on stage.
yes,
But if you get some people, you didn't even know who they were.
yeah,
There's bands where I don't know. Like I think we talked about it on the bass player edition, maybe the bass player for Yes. I had to look his name up,
yeah.
and I don't know that I know any of the people. I'm not anti Yes. I like Yes. They still play, as far as I know. Chicago's another one. Of course, everybody knew Peter Cetera, but it was mostly after he went solo.
Yeah,
So think of all the people that are in Chicago. The
yeah,
horn section, the piano, the drums, the bass, the guitars.
yeah,
I don't know a single one of their names. So they could all be new players that were on tour this summer
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had any idea. So I think it sucks and it's unfair, but it's also the truth that bands like Linkin Park that replace somebody in this century. But go back to the 70s. Rush, that's going to be a hard sell. And for the Rush fans that I've talked to that I know, they don't care. They want to see Eddie and Alex or Getty and Alex, and they want to give this woman the benefit of the doubt. She'll be able to
Yeah.
play the parts
Yeah.
and do a good job. And because they didn't get the farewell shot
Yeah.
because Neil passed away. I understand that. It's kind of like if like Sticks going out, if Tommy and JY would leave, call it. Then you got to me, you call it because there's nobody left that
Yeah.
was in the band when it was in somewhat of its heyday.
Okay.
That's my thing.
So you went and saw uh Leonard Skinner. Now are they
Yeah.
are they a 70s? Are you consider them a 70s band?
Oh yeah,
They
yeah.
start in 60s.
This was their 50th anniversary this year.
Okay, okay. So
That's what
I
it
just
said
wanted to say
anyway.
that. Now,
Yeah.
you know there was some key people that died in the accident. In
Yeah,
the
yeah.
plane
Oh,
accident.
sure. Yeah. Ronnie right
So
off the bat. Yeah.
people have accepted the ones that have gone on and carried on the name pretty easily because it was quite an ensemble of players. But
Yeah,
it's
but
so
until
what's your opinion on that?
until a couple years ago. Until a couple years ago, Gary Rosington was still alive and was in the band.
Okay.
So there you go. And then for me, for Leonard Skinner, Ricky Medlock, who's a guitar player now, has been with them since the plane crash. I
Okay.
think around that
Okay.
area. So I kind of accept it more because it's like I don't expect because Ronnie died and the bass player, I think it was, died at the time. I don't expect them to pack it in because oh well, we can't do we can't do Leonard Skinner anymore because these guys. I wouldn't have thought that would be fair,
Yeah.
but I think if everybody else in the band now was pretty new, like the last few years, like 2-3 years ago, I would say no, can't be touring under that name. But with Ricky still being there, and then you got Johnny who's been there since his brother passed, or his brother or cousin. I can't remember if Ronnie was his brother or cousin, but he's a Van Zant himself. So, but he's been there since 1977.
Okay.
So yeah, that is a little bit different because of the circumstances. But like you're talking about some of these other bands. If Boston went out now, okay,
Yeah.
as long as Tom Schultz is there, I'm okay with it
Okay.
because he was the originator. He played all the instruments on the debut album. I think he did the first couple by himself. So he's kind of like a Dave Grohl or a Wolfgang Van Halen, where
Yep.
they play the whole everything, and then they have their people come in touring with them.
Yeah.
So if Tom Schultz was on the stage, I'd be okay with it. Now, if it was just Tom Schultz would pass, or they would try to take the Boston name out with some random that had played a few tours with them, I'm coming for their ass
Okay.
because that ain't right. That's a different situation. Now, some of these people they go through court battles because they think they should be allowed to have the name. Back in the 60s and 70s, even, you had the Doors with their bullshit to where the Doors had to come out, what, recently and call it something. They call it the New Doors or the Doors of the 21st century because they weren't allowed legally to use the name, the
Okay.
Doors, because of Dinsmore and Krieger having their problems. Same way with John Fogerty. He got sued for plagiarism on songs he wrote
Yeah.
and sang himself. And he had to go through the court battle to sing CCR music. So it gets messy, but for the most part, for the most part, I've accepted that it's 50 years since these people were playing. They're not going to be the same. It's not going to, all the members aren't going to be the same. Even bands like that we love, like Judas Priest, they're not the original members. You know, they've had to move on. They got a different drummer than they've had at one point they had a different singer, and people still went and saw them, and they're still playing today.
Yeah.
They're still headlining today with whatever lineup it is. I know KK's not in it, so he's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
So you got another guitar player. Does that make it bad? I don't know. The rotating group of people that do Whitesnake are still out. I don't know. When do you call it not Whitesnake? When Coverdale's not there? I mean, I don't know. Because you've had Joel Hykstra playing, you've had Red Beach playing,
Yeah.
you've had Tommy Aldridge on the drums, you've had a couple other drummers play, you've had Sarzo on the bass at one point, you've had Pilson, I think, played with them. It's like, but they're still able to go out and play Whitesnake music.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
I
All
have to
right.
come to I have to come to grips that this has to end soon
Yeah.
because I don't
Well,
know, dude. It
so
just it's gonna come to
Foreigner.
an end.
Let's touch on Foreigner.
Yes,
So
that's one I was going to talk about.
okay, so the whole Foreigner thing, Lou Graham hasn't been with the band for how long?
Oh, since the early '80s, yeah,
Okay, because he did his solo thing,
yeah,
and they had a really good singer step in for a lot of fucking years,
yep,
and he just recently called it quits. Correct?
yes, yes.
So
But they have a new singer,
do that.
so yeah, they're still doing it, man. They had a guitar player named Luis
Okay.
Maldonado, or something like that. I saw a video recently, it's right after it was announced that he was going to be the singer. Dude sounds he's fantastic. He sounds just like what I thought Kelly Hansen did Lou Graham a solid. I
Okay.
thought he stayed close to the best. He didn't try to make it his own entity. He did this as close as he could get to what Lou Graham would sound like. And he did it after 20 years. And Kelly Hansen back in the Hurricane days, he was a hell of a singer in his own right with his
Yeah.
own music. But he did all that for Foreigner for all those years. Well, now this the guy was a guitar player, and Kelly said he's done. So the guitar player said, "Well, I can sing, and I know all those songs." And dude knocks it out the park, and it's still he stays real close.
Yeah.
And it's like that to me is what I find respectful about most of these bands that are out
Okay.
is they don't try to change it up to be their version of Foreigner or Styx or America, Chicago. They play as close to the best as they can get. It's kind of like, and this is off topic just a little bit, but I watched an interview with Billy Corgan, and it was with John Five. And
Okay.
John Five talked about his experience joining Motley Crue.
Okay.
And Billy asked him, he said, "Do you ever get the urge to kind of make Motley Crue songs your own?" He goes, "No, God, no." He said, "Why would you change that?" He goes, "Those songs I listened to and loved as a kid myself." He said,
Okay.
"I'm not changing a damn thing."
Okay.
And I can attest, when I saw John Five play with Motley Crue last year, he did not change a damn thing. Now, his solos, yeah, they were outlandish, but he didn't I mean, not solos like in the song. He did
Okay.
like a solo on his own
Oh yeah.
in
Yeah.
between. Yeah. But no, you couldn't. I mean, he paid homage to Mick Mars in a very, very extremely respectful way.
Note
He
for
didn't
note.
change shit.
Was he
Yeah,
pretty
he
much
does.
note for note?
His sounds a little different, of course, but yeah, it's note for note. Yeah,
Okay.
he
Okay.
didn't try to add squeals and harmonics and add little trinkets here and there. No, he was playing what it was written like,
Okay.
and that's what I want to hear if I go see a '70s band, Aerosmith or Styx or any. I want to hear what the album sounds like.
Yeah.
That's the goal when I see a band.
Okay.
I want to hear. That's why when we were playing in the band, I said I don't want a bunch of tutti frutti studio shit because I want to be able to play it live like people hear it,
Yes.
and that's kind of what I want from my '70s bands because it's their last hurrah, basically, dude.
Yeah.
It's like '79. If you came out in '79, you might have a few more years. But like Black Sabbath, I don't know what the shit they're doing next year. I'm not into that.
Yeah.
I'm just not into that. The
Well,
hologram thing.
but that
But
technically
50,
they were kind of a '60s band, weren't they? Did they come out in
the
'69?
first, I thought the first album was 70. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. But I mean, they were more relevant in the '70s. I mean, Led Zeppelin technically is a '60s band, but I remember them through the '70s,
I got you. I got you.
because like I think Styx might be a '60s band. I think
Wow.
Styx was out in late '60s, maybe. It's hard to tell. I just remember what I was listening to in the '70s, and I knew they weren't like the Rolling Stones.
So, well, yeah, Stones they were late '60s, right?
I think they were early '60s. Them they were about Beatles time, Frank.
Right
Early, like
after the
mid,
Beatles.
early, right
Okay.
after the Beatles.
So let me talk one more '70s band,
All right.
Journey.
Yeah.
So for years now, Arnell has stepped up and done a great job. So what I mean, what's your feelings on the whole Journey thing? Because that's a lot of the guys are still around for now and kicking it.
Yeah. I think Jonathan Cain recently quit, which he wasn't the original guitar or keyboard player.
Okay.
He was
That,
Greg Raleigh was the original guy.
okay.
Steve Perry wasn't original. People get all pissed off because that's not the original singer. Steve Perry was not the original singer either.
Yes.
It was Greg Raleigh at the beginning. But you got Neil, who's the centerpiece of it. He's kind of the boss man. He's the name carrier, if you want to say that. You've had Steve Smith played drums for him a couple different times. He was back in the day, and he was like on the Frontiers album. And then you had Castronovo come back. Castronovo's been with them since the Escape album, I think. And it's like so they've had guys there since the early '80s that are still there,
Okay.
and Neil's never left. So Neil's the guy. I think Arnell, he's the fourth singer for Journey.
Yes.
So at that point, I think he's still doing it service, and they have released albums with Arnell.
Yes.
So it's not like you're going out and just playing Steve Perry's shit all the time or Greg Raleigh's. All Gary had an album with Journey. He was the third singer, and Arnell has one. So I consider those just replacement for the '70s band.
Okay.
So yeah, I think Journey is probably the most high profile '70s band still going. I kind of feel that has probably other than like Blue Oyster Cult, who I talked about, have released music most recently. The rest of them are just kind of touring and enjoying their senior years, their their golden age, which is okay too. But I don't look forward to seeing them as much as I would 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, I would have really liked to have seen Styx again,
Yeah.
or even Journey again. And it's like now, it's like it's still Journey and all that, but it's like I don't know. I just never listened to them anything with Algary. I didn't listen to that album. I didn't really listen to any of the new stuff with Arnell. It's always been the Prime Journey, and it's like I've seen them with the Prime Journey. I've seen the Prime Journey, and it's like it's okay. I don't know, dude. There's so many bands. Cheap Trick, I think, still they just had a stadium tour a couple years ago with like Joan Jett and well, you got all those bands too. Heart's still out, even though Nancy or Ann Wilson has a lot of health issues,
Yeah.
but they still go out and play. You still have Joan Jett, who's maybe not solo in the '70s, but she was in the Runaway. Lita Ford,
Yeah.
they're still out there, and I consider them still the Runaways because I know they do Cherry Bomb. One of them does it, so it's
Well,
still
Sherry Curry
relevant.
still was. She just did a show a few months ago in Hollywood. The
Yeah,
singer for the Runaways, who I follow, and it's like, they're still around. I just saw Lita, you know,
yeah.
a while back. So it's like, and
The
they're
Who.
never, when you get a solo artist doing stuff without the solo artist, then that's done. It's done.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, like the Who was just out over the
yeah,
summer, the early summer. They're still doing stuff. Steve Miller was going to, and he canceled his tour just because I think he said something about the logistics, just trying to do the country. He's just not up to it anymore. And a lot of bands you'll see the '70s bands are very particular. They don't do massive 200 city tours. They'll
no,
do 15, 20, and then they'll take a couple weeks off. They'll do another 10 or 15. That's what surprises me about the Rush lineup for next year. That list is getting pretty damn long of places they're playing. And they're playing multiple nights
oof,
in most of these cities.
yeah,
They're playing 2 nights in Detroit up there at Little Caesars Arena. They're playing 2 nights at Rocket Arena here in Cleveland. So they're playing a couple times around here, but it's like, man, I hate. You talked about ticket prices at one point.
yeah.
I can imagine what those ticket prices are going to be, and I
I would
can't
like to
blame
go
them.
see Rush. I would, but if the ticket
Yeah,
prices are going to be outrageous, it's kind of like, uh,
in an arena would buy a big arena like that. It's got to have to be arena. I would rather do that than a stadium, though. I wouldn't want to go see them in a stadium because I'd be so afraid that the sound would echo and sound. I don't want to have a bad memory of Rush as my last time seeing them.
yeah.
So a perfect circumstance, yeah, I would go see Rush. I would probably, and this is going to be quite embarrassing to say,
Oh God.
but I would probably pony up about $1,000 for a ticket for
Woo,
that, and that's
woo.
probably not going to touch most of the tickets. I'm just assuming, but I would probably. They're that important that. And I consider this their farewell tour. It might not be. They haven't announced it like that,
Yeah,
but they're getting up there, dude. They're
yeah,
they're they're 70s. They're in
yeah,
their 70s. So yeah, it's kind of like what you had your dilemma with ACDC last summer,
yeah,
and go. But they were like I said, if it was outside, I wouldn't even think about it.
yeah.
But boy, it's tempting. Detroit is not that far away from here,
Well,
and it's like,
I've seen ACDC enough, and they're one of those '70s bands. They are one of those '70s
yeah,
bands that have never
yeah,
stopped, and they've lost members, and they've had to replace people, and
yeah.
but they're still going. And I told people go see them, but I had seen them enough where it's like, okay, I'm cool if I miss this because I saw them basically with everybody but Phil Rudd and Bon
Huh.
Scott. I never got to see him with Bon Scott,
Yeah, can't
but
really make that happen.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying. I was able to
Yeah,
see like the core of the guys that continued on. So
yeah.
you know what I mean. I've
Well,
had my ACDC that I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have to go see him. I'd like to see him, but those tickets were expensive too, dude. I was just like,
yeah,
ah,
it doesn't. It has to be a pretty memorable thing for me to shell out a bunch of money
yeah,
and all that. But the final thing I got about the '70s bands, and whether you love them, hate them, you think they're legit to go see, or you don't agree with it or whatnot, it's just the music stood the test of time, no matter who's playing it.
yeah,
And but yeah, a full cover band or tribute band. No, I mean that's fine that you do that, and people get to tour the country touring as a tribute band. That's great. But if you were good enough to get in the band as a full time member and you want to keep that alive, I can't argue it. I can't argue. But I think the most weirdest thing for me is there's '80s bands that are dropping out and can't handle the pace now more than '70s bands.
yeah,
Which is, did they go too hard too fast? That's what I like to think.
yeah,
I like to think that they just laid it out there, wore the shit out of their bodies, and gave it everything they had. The '70s guys were a little more commonsensical, and they could last a little longer. That's fine. I love classic rock, so anything from the '70s or '80s, I kind of lump together. They're classic to me. If you get a chance to go see, just give them a shot. If they're close enough, the tickets are
yeah,
cheaper. I mean, yeah, minus the Rush, you're going to pay out your ass for Rush. And like I said, that's still on my debate table. I'll shell out some big money to see that next year. But yeah, I mean, if you can't go wrong seeing a Chicago or a Kansas or a America or anything from this Cheap Trick, God, Steve Miller, all those great bands,
Don
it'd be worth
McLean went
going.
out. Don McLean went out a few years back and was in one of the towns and actually performed. Don McLean,
Yeah,
I was
and it's
like,
like,
is he still around?
yeah. As
Obviously, he
long as you
was.
don't, as long as they don't look like Frankie Valley, like a corpse up there, I'm okay with whatever they want to do. So the Frankie Valley creeps me out, dude. I don't want
Yeah,
to see anything like that to my heroes. But yeah, anybody else, it's like I'm proud of all of them for kicking it.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if there's only a member here, a member there, it's like, man, what a great gig to get to do for 50 years of your life. I
yeah.
can't imagine it. So yeah, more kudos, more power to them, man.
Beats working a real job.
Hell yes, it
Yes,
does.
it is.
It beat the hell out of that.
Yeah. All right, Mikey, let's wrap it up.
All right.
All right, this is Skeet.
I am Moshin Mikey.
See ya!
Peace out.